Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Sick Career Podcast. This past week, I came back from the CSEA. It's Career Services and Employer Association. It's a great organization. It's all the top MBA programs, their career centers, not even like the top MBA programs, just all MBA programs across mostly the country, partly the world. I met some people from Singapore. There were people from Dublin there. There were people from Australia. London was there as well. But most of these schools are US based, and some of the top schools are there. So Columbia was representing, Stanford was there, Harvard and Penn were on the list. I did not see them. They might have been there. Cornell I saw. Then Duke was there. A lot of people from Duke, Darden, University of Washington, University of Texas, lots of top schools, NYU. And there were also what I'd call second tier schools. There's nothing wrong about them, but top companies are not typically going to Tulane's business school unless they're regional. Regional companies will go there, but Google's not going to target Tulane like they would a Columbia, or a Booth was there too, Chicago. So there's lots of different MBA programs, lots of different pros and cons about the different tiers of them. And there was a great presentation on the last day from GMAC. GMAC is an organization that measures the metrics of testing for GMATs, which is the test to get into business schools. And they put out a lot of research, and they did a very thorough research study of recruiters' perspectives on MBAs. And I want to dig deeper into this, but there is clear evidence that recruiters appreciate MBAs. And the compensation is more, the expectation of where that person is going to go and the level that that person goes within the organization is increased. But there's a lot of questions of, is it causation or correlation? So a lot of these schools have companies paying for individuals to go get their MBA. And those people by default are going to be the higher performers, the ones that are going to earn the more money over the course of time anyway. So anyway, it wasn't definitive, but it was a lot of good research on that. And I always get asked the question, should I get my MBA or not? There's not a clear-cut answer here. And I think it really depends on what your current value is, what you're earning now, what your opportunity cost is of giving it up. And you need to also think, am I going to go full-time, part-time, nights and weekends, things of that nature too. So that should all come into your thought process. And you also have to think about what you're looking for the school to do for you. So some schools give you ridiculous brand recognition. Some schools give you access to specific industries. Like if you go to, probably some of the schools in the Houston area or the Texas area, I bet get a lot of recruiting from the oil companies, the oil and gas companies. And I know obviously Stanford gets a lot of recruiters from the tech industry, and Columbia in New York and NYU in New York get a lot of finance companies coming after them, and Harvard gets all the management consultants coming after them. Kellogg is a marketing program. So different programs have different stereotypes, and that's a big reason why students choose to go to that company to be associated with that brand. But not all schools have that brand recognition. And I'm not going to call every school out, but when you think of schools that give you cachet and give you an increase in your compensation, there are top 10, top 20 schools, if you look at US News and World Reports, that typically come up there. But there's other reasons to go get your MBA. I've hired interns from MBA programs at University of Denver. He was fantastic. He's still at Salesforce. I hired my best employee ever, Rachel. She got her MBA from the University of South Alabama, I think it was. I thought she should have gone to a big name university and get that stamp on her resume, but she said, no, I'd rather go for free to Alabama, and she's done quite well. So everybody has a unique situation, but it's really important that you think about, why are you getting that MBA? If it is just for a job opportunity, you better have an understanding of what sort of companies those alumni are at, because that is a preview of the companies that are likely going to be recruiting you from that school. You also want to consider if your company is paying for it. There's a lot of value to get the MBA, even if it's not top school. Try to go to the top school that you can, especially if they're going to pay. Another thing that I learned from this event, which is actually interesting if people apply this, there is a lot of opportunity for individuals to exploit arbitrage, essentially, by going to top MBA programs. They're online programs. So here's the deal. A lot of these schools offer online MBAs, and they're typically a little bit cheaper, much more profitable for the school. They're cheaper, but they're lower cost to serve, so they're more profitable. And I don't know much about these online MBAs, and I'm not sure which schools offer them. I know a lot do, and more do. But when you're someone who gets into one of these MBA programs, an online MBA program from, I'm not sure which ones offer it, but say it was from Stanford. Stanford, to get into the GSB, the Graduate School of Business, a full-time MBA, is really hard. And the online program, I don't know the exact numbers, but my hunch is it is a lot easier to get into online programs because I think a lot of people want to go in person. And there is a lot of value of going in person in terms of the richness of networking. And it's a more immersive experience, but it's a lot of money. $250,000 or so for MBAs nowadays at top schools for the 2-year program. And also, you can get the online MBA. I believe it is easier to get into some of these MBA programs, online program. And when you graduate, you say you have a Stanford MBA. You don't have to say it's a Stanford online MBA. There is no different diploma. That's at least what I heard at this conference when I asked specifically. So if you have the opportunity to do a part-time MBA or an online MBA because you're looking to use the school and the brand more as brand recognition and giving yourself authority, as Dr. Robert Cialdini talks about in the book Influence, when you have branding, when you have a logo on you, when you're like a doctor that comes in with a lab coat, you have authority. So when you're someone that graduated with an MBA from Haas at Berkeley, it doesn't really matter if you got it from the online one or the full-time or the part-time. You just say you have a Haas MBA and you still get that authority and that brand value. So I thought that was interesting. I don't want to go too long in this podcast. I know not everybody is interested in their MBA, but I will be talking more about 2 MBA or not MBA. I personally got a ridiculous amount of value that continues to pay off for me. I spent $138,000 on my MBA back in 2004 from Columbia Business School. But I was also giving up a job working in minor league baseball where I was earning $20,000. So I was actually earning less in that job than I was for my previous job's unemployment insurance. My unemployment insurance after I lost my job in venture capital was $24,000 a year. And working for the New Haven Ravens, I was earning $20,000 a year. So when my father-in-law suggested that maybe I go back to business school, I said, sure, great idea. And at the spur of a moment, I made that decision. I remember at the dinner table that I was at with my father-in-law where he suggested the business school. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. It was a different decision process for me. I've also gotten lots of value out of the alumni network. The alumni from Columbia Business School got me into American Express, and they prepared me for the interview. Having Columbia on my resume gave me more credibility when I got into Google because they were able to introduce me as someone who worked at American Express and got his MBA from Columbia Business School. And the MBA has continued to pay off. I've met lots of great people from Columbia Business School. They just recently joined the consortium, which I'm proud that they have. The consortium is for underrepresented groups out there, for I think maybe Black, Brown people, Native American. This is a great organization that essentially funds MBAs for people to go through this program, the consortium, and they get slots at the top business schools like Columbia. I think Booth is part of it. I think University of Washington definitely is. NYU is. A lot of these schools sponsor students. I believe they get free tuition for going through this program with the consortium. going off a little bit there, but I got a lot of value out of my Columbia MBA. Not everybody will get that same sort of return. I also had to proactively activate that network and take advantage of that network. Just having Columbia Business School or Booth or Kellogg or Michigan, like Ross School of Business, on your resume, it's going to do a little bit, but it's how you activate that, how you build those relationships, how you leverage those resources at the career service centers, which I met lots of fabulous people here that are vested in the careers of mostly the students, but they also help alumni as well. And I've been helped a lot by my alumni association with Columbia Business School as I was going through different job iterations, to put the word kindly, of getting fired multiple times. Anyway, it was a great conference. I was fortunate to go there. There's lots of things that I do with Kadima where we work with MBA programs and we work with academic programs to help ramp up their students so that they understand how recruiting really works. So that's why I was there, to understand what the needs were of the schools and the students, and there is a need there. I see it all the time. And it was just a really good opportunity for me to get out, build my relationships. I probably added 50 plus or 100 plus people on LinkedIn. I actually hit the limit on LinkedIn for connection requests for last week, and I've done that a few times. They limit you to like 100 or 150 a week or so. But anyway, if you do want to work with me, you can always sign up to apply for one of our 15 coaching slots. We've expanded that from 10 to 15. We've scaled up our services so that we can still provide the better support. I've carved out more time on my calendar so that I can support you in your career search. So we have 15 spots available that we take new clients in per month. We work with you until you get a great job. So the best way to learn more about that, go to my LinkedIn profile, click on Own Your Career. You'll go to a registration page and you can sign up for one of my next job acquisition workshops. Then if you want to get started right away and you want to do something on your own, you can go get our course. $600. It has all the information, all the system of how I help people get great jobs quickly, confidently, and with lots more money. And it's not like I am doing the work. I am telling you how to do the right work, to how to understand how recruiting works and how decisions are made and how biased they are and how imperfect they are. And with that insight and with that knowledge and building that mindset, having a rigorous approach, you will get more interviews, more offers, and more money. So check out how I can help you and listen to the podcast, follow the podcast, rate the podcast. If you rate it, give me a review, send me a screenshot of it. I will give you a free LinkedIn profile review. So thanks a lot and own your career.